Right. And I'm glad that actually that you brought that up about how basically, not just the physical world, but also like, abstract concepts such as, consciousness and all of that all arises out of creation, basically. And that's actually the point that I wanted to talk about consciousness itself. Now, when we look at the world, what we do find is that all complexity seems to arise from this idea of self-similarity. When you look at a tree, and you look at a small branch of the tree, it also looks like a tree, and it's formed basically from smaller branches to create a more complex structure. My thought on this was that not only do you see things in the physical world that arise out of this self-similarity, but even your consciousness itself arises out of this self-similarity. And that I thought consciousness itself actually grows like a tree. When we think about these abstract behaviors, one of the proofs actually that, even abstract behaviors seem to follow this fractal geometric pattern was actually the mathematician who first coined fractal geometry was a person by the name of Professor Benoit Mandelbrot. Benoit Mandelbrot. He was a French mathematician. And he actually basically showed that not only do we see fractal geometry in the physical world, but that even the financial markets seem to follow these patterns of fractal geometry. So not just physical stuff follow this pattern, but even abstract behaviors like the markets follow this pattern. And my thought is not only markets, but even our own consciousness seem to follow this pattern where our consciousness basically grows by branching itself out into different perspectives of things. So the way I think about this is, when we say I, we always think of this as like a singular I. But in fact, when you look at yourself, there are actually multiple different personalities that are grown within you. The way I speak with my wife will be different from the way I speak to my boss, which will be different from the way that I speak to someone else that I work with. Friends, enemies, whatever it is, they're all actually different personalities that I feel grow out like branches of a tree. Now, I think and somewhere in the teachings of Indian, they do talk about consciousness, and I think in one of your talks you talk about how consciousness is like an inverted tree, actually. Like an inverted tree. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the Upanishads say about consciousness itself and how it relates to an inverted tree, actually.
Yeah, the Upanishad per se, in essence, says that pure consciousness, from which is the source of everything that we have, cannot be defined by words or any other linear equation. In fact, the Upanishad, Upanishad, for instance, starts with saying, "Chakshusha na pashyati," that which the eye cannot perceive. Why? Because it is limited in its scope.
Right.
The instrument of perception.
Right.
But because of the presence of which the eye is able to perceive, therefore the eye cannot perceive it.
Yes.
I cannot see myself. I can see a reflection in the mirror, but I actually cannot see myself.
Right. The eye cannot see itself, actually.
Somebody else can see me. I can't see except as a reflection in the mirror, which is a reflection.
Yes.
In the same way, the Upanishad says that essence of consciousness, which is all-pervading, it's also Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam, it pervades everything. That cannot be examined by any conditioned process. Neither by the instruments of perception, eyes, nose, hands, ears, or anything.
Yes.
Even says that words cannot describe it, because it says, Vajanam Dhutitam, even words cannot describe it. Okay. So that question then arises, if that is the case, can we ever find it?
Right.
Because if nothing can describe it. Now here is where the thing comes from. They say, yes, it can be found, or it can be manifest when everything becomes quiet and there is no more discussion between limited perspectives.
Right. It's really the separation, actually.
Yeah, it is the separation of me and you and things
which is limiting us, actually.
Yeah, that limits us from perception of the all-pervading consciousness, which is also our true essence.
Yes.
It's not as if it's away from us. It's right there. In fact, somebody said it is nearer to you than your own neck vein. So it's, it's there.
Yes.
But, so this is one side of it. Now you referred to what I said about the tree. Okay.
Yes.
Now then we have to separate the idea of consciousness and what we normally call consciousness.
Right.
What we normally call consciousness is the thinking brain.
Yes, the conscious behavior that we see reflected outside, yes. Yes.
Nobody has identified a mind anywhere inside.
Right. Yes.
There is no other mind. Mind is just an abstract expression used by people, but there is no mind. There is only the brain.
Yes.
Okay. At the moment.
Yes.
So, it is this brain that normally we say is consciousness because the brain produces thought. We are conscious of the thought.
Yes.
And the one who is conscious of thought is also thought.
Yes.
Because when the brain has stopped functioning, there is nothing.
Yes, but where does the thought arise from, actually?
So, as long as there is brain thought,
Yes.
which is normally what we are accustomed to, brain thought,
Yes.
then you cannot go to the source of it. Because it's like trying to turn and look at yourself. It's not possible to do that.
Yes.
Only reflections can be used as examples.
Yes.
You can't. So Upanishad says it is also the experience and understanding of some people from ancient times onwards that the mind, which we normally call the mind, which is the brain,
Yes.
with its conflicts and its separations.
Yes.
Just as you said, I talk to different people in different. It's conditioned behavior depending on the object with which
Right.
it is.
A stimulus comes in, and depending upon how that stimulus,
Then you react
yes.
accordingly.
Yes.
So there is a separation. And all separation brings conflict.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
In some way.
Yes.
This is like, but I want it to be this way.
Right.
How do I see this? So conflict also is largely responsible for dissipating our energies. Right? So all the time there are conflicting thoughts. There are these emotions which are against each other in our own personality, not outside.
Right.
So therefore the brain thought is always involved in these conflicts and differences.
Yes.
And therefore it cannot recognize its source. Now, Upanishad says, when the brain ceases to have a conflict, we know only brain right now,
Right.
and when it is completely quiet and calm, where it is not dissipating any energy whatsoever. Dissipation of energy comes with distractions.
Right.
An undistracted brain, an unconflicted brain, not conflicted brain.
Right.
When this happens, if it can happen, and there are ways and means to bring this about, first understanding is required.
Sure.
Then perhaps one begins to understand that which exists beyond the brain. But that's not possible through the brain.
Yes.
I mean, it's possible, maybe we are experiencing through the brain, but
Yes.
it's not possible to find it through ordinary thought. So, if that is touched, then you see that from small seeds of consciousness rises this entire universe.
Yes.
And this, even though it has become so complex, the seed of that simplicity is there in it, even in its complexity.
Right.
In the Chandogya Upanishad, give me 2 more minutes.
Sure, no
In the
problem. No, please
Chandogya
go.
Upanishad, there is a rishi who sends his son to study wisdom. He comes back and then he says, yes, so have you studied wisdom? Have you understood the truth? He says, well, I think I have. He said, no, you can't think you have. Because the moment you think, you have not. Either you understand or you haven't.
That's right.
So then he says, okay, you see that tree there? Go and see under the tree there is a seed. So there is a banyan tree there, huge banyan tree. Banyan trees grow large.
Yes.
So there is a little seed there, pick it up. See, the Upanishads have always been in dialogue format. They've not been imposing anything on anybody.
Yes.
They've been saying, find out.
Yes.
Find out. This is what I find most important about the Upanishads. Find out
Yes.
for yourself.
Yes.
Not second-hand knowledge through somebody.
Right. Because when you get second-hand knowledge, it just becomes belief.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So pick up that seed. He picks it up. He says, open it. See, oh, peel it. He peels it. What do you see? He says, I see the kernel inside. K-E-R-N-E.
Right.
Okay? He says, peel the kernel. He peels the kernel. What do you see inside? It's somewhat like your fractal geometry. Peel it. Yeah, what do you see? I see 4 little black seeds inside. Okay, he says, take one of those seeds out. With great difficulty, so small. He says, peel it. So small, but with great attention, peel it. What do you see? Yes, I see nothing. Because it is from this nothing that this whole vanished.
Yeah.
So, it's not nothing.
Right.
This is why the Buddhists call it shunya.
Right.
They say nothing. Nothing doesn't mean nothing, it means no thing.
Yes. Yes.
It is from this that is entire complex. Now the banyan tree, which I had described, the people tree, is similar to this. What it means is that there is a source which is high above, that is the root. So it's an upside down tree. Normally all trees have roots down and branches above. Here is a tree whose roots are up and branches below. That means we can only see the branches. As long as you don't go to the root, you cannot figure out the mystery of this whole universe. May I also add that the word Brahman in Sanskrit, which means the Supreme Being, is exact like what you said. The word itself, the root of that word Brahman is Bru, which means expand.
Okay.
So it's a constant process of expansion. There is no end. If it ends, then it is a limited thing.